America's Graduates, JAG, and Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. As a member of the JAG Board of Directors, Governor Bryant is passionate about empowering young people to achieve their full potential and succeed in the workforce. Similarly, his affiliation with Kappa Alpha Psi reflects his dedication to fostering brotherhood and service, embodying the fraternity's principles of achievement, leadership, and community involvement. Governor Bryant has been a trailblazer in the realm of education, committed to expanding access to higher learning. He made history by institutionalizing free tuition at the University of the Virgin Islands. This landmark initiative has opened doors to opportunity to countless students, empowering them to pursue their academic aspirations without the burden of financial constraints. By investing in education, Governor Bryant is laying the foundation for a skilled workforce and a brighter future for Virgin Islanders. Under his stewardship, the Virgin Islands emerged as a beacon of success, reopening safely and ahead of the entire Caribbean region. Today, the Virgin Islands stands as a testament to Governor Albert Bryant's visionary leadership and tireless dedication to progress. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to the table the governor of the Virgin Islands, Governor Albert Bryant, Jr. Give him a round of applause, Morehouse College style.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Some of you look up real tense. Every time I listen to my bio read, it really just blows my mind. I just laugh. I'm like, I can't believe it's me that they're talking about. And I want to commend you students that come in here tonight, because when I was in undergrad, there's no way you was going to get me to any speaker at 6 o'clock in the evening. So congratulations. I also got to say that it gave me great pleasure for an alpha to talk about how great a noob I am. So I came here tonight to talk to you about civic action. And to really explain that to you, I can't emphasize enough. Is anybody in here from the Caribbean, grew up in the Caribbean? Where you from, bro? Jamaica, come on. Anybody else? I saw somebody in the back. Where you from? Oh, Haiti. Good stuff. Growing up in the Caribbean as an African American or as an Afro-Caribbean man or woman is like really different. I remember I had one of my frat brothers come and visit me one time, and he was just walking down the street smiling. And this is a usually very miserable kind of guy. He doesn't smile much. And I asked him, I said, why are you smiling so much? And he says, man, everybody's black. Everybody's black. Everywhere you look, everybody's black. And that's something that we take for granted. But the one thing it drives, though, is a real sense of community, because everyone in the community looks like you, talks like you, speaks like you, feels like you. So I was born in the 60s, which was a very changing time in the Caribbean and in the world, so to speak. I mean, that is the time of Martin Luther King, of Malcolm X, of a lot of different leaders that were coming of age. And it had an amazing effect on the children of that age. You grew up with this tremendous sense of responsibility to your community, like you had to do something that was socially active, that made a difference in the world. It wasn't just about just being. It was about being something in the world that changed, much like you're doing here at Morehouse today. And so from a very young age, I wanted to be governor of the Virgin Islands. I know it might sound strange to you, but it wasn't an accident. It was because there was so many people around me that were concerned about what was going to happen in the islands. You see, even though it was a place that the United States bought in 1917, we didn't even get the right to elect our own governor till 1972. So I was only 4 years old when that happened. It was a big thing for us, and my cousin had gotten appointed as a lieutenant governor of the Virgin Islands. And as a youngster, just riding around in a big car and being able to be with somebody important. Imagine in 1972, we didn't even know there was like phones could be in the car. I think it was about 75, 76. They had an actual phone in his car, and it just blew my mind away. It's like, this is what I want to do. People were talking about politics all around me, my family and everything, and I was like, it must be important, must be something to do. So the first thing I want to tell you about civic action, it is a culture. It's a culture that you have to breed, and it's not only a culture that you inherit, but it's one that you should pass on. And it's even my kids, when growing up and the stuff that I used to do, I realized that after a while that they would feel idle sitting home on a Saturday because they felt that they had to be doing something, which is what I want to inspire in you today, to do something. So I went to school, came back in 1989, and wanted to be governor, didn't know how to do it. So I said, well, the Democrats, there are people that I should join. So I went and joined the Young Democrats. But it didn't feel right to me because I wasn't getting the kind of people connected to me that I thought were talking about things for young people. They were talking more about getting people elected. And I want to talk to you about that because the elections nowadays are changing vastly. It's more about getting people elected than getting a message across, a theme across, a purpose across. You see, people have seemed to lose their passion because now politics is not about people who move from a civic place and move that idea, that theory, that concept, or whatever the movement to a place where they can actually effectuate it. It's more like people who are looking for power, look like a good person to run, that they're putting up and saying, vote for this guy, and then we'll put an agenda behind him. It's very different. So I come from the age where you had to earn the right to be on a ballot. And I felt that I had to earn the right too. So the Young Democrats wasn't working out for me. And I was a young guy at the time trying to build a home, trying to raise kids, trying to get insurance, dealing with schools for my kids. And no one was talking about home ownership, the stuff that affected young people. And I said, man, we got to do something. And a bunch of my friends, we used to talk all the time, let's do something. But we didn't know what to do. We didn't have a vehicle for it. We thought about, what is it we want to do? I said, well, first of all, we need to get people who are like-minded together so that we can actually have a movement, that we could do something. The other thing we need to do, who has what skills? So a lot of people pass, as black people, wherever we go, we hail one another. What's up, man? How you doing? And I only say, what are you saying? But that wasn't knowing who that person was. We know this person for years and didn't know where they went to school, if they were a carpenter or a plumber, what kind of special skills they got. So that was something we needed and we're striving to do. Further than that, we wanted to start to elect people based on something. A lot of elections are just name popularity contests. You get to know a name so much and you vote for this person. We wanted to create a mechanism to measure politicians by. We wanted to be able to attack the issues that were affecting us as young people. Do you feel like the issues of today's election affect you as young men in Morehouse in the United States? We didn't feel those things were being addressed. So talking a lot about it never got anything done. And we decided that, we got to do something. We didn't know how. So one of my good friends, her father-in-law was running for office. And she said, you should come and see me. Let's get this thing done to get him elected. I said, man, this guy's going to lose. There's no way he could win. She was like, just come and listen to the governor. This guy's running for governor talk. I said, okay, I'm going to go. And I went and listened to him, and I know how politics is. I followed it all my life. I said, this guy cannot win. But I'm going to do the right thing and support him because he will be governor. And duly enough, he was elected governor of the Virgin Islands. But before that, we got together and said, we're going to do something around getting him elected. So a bunch of us started to form an organization. And the organization, we decided, was not going to be just about electing a governor, but it had to be about moving a movement for the Virgin Islands. We got together, and we decided we're going to have a perpetual organization. We're going to call it Generation Now. And it was only about maybe 12, 15 of us at the time. And this is the other message I got to tell you. There's strength in numbers, but there's also strength in the perception of numbers. Now, people thought we were this massive organization. We only ever had 50 people. But the ability to go on the radio, to go on TV, to go on talk shows, to meet people, to be in the community doing things, gave people the impression that we were this incredible force. But there's strength in numbers because in small numbers you can do a lot of things. Decisions are made easier, you're more flexible, and you have people that show up who want to work. And a strange thing happened. We started to attract people of like minds. We started to get people who wanted to do something in the community. And there were a lot of people who were like, what should you call them, pretenders that would come. But once they realized we weren't about being popular and we weren't about getting elected, we were about moving things forward, it started to attract more people. And the people who didn't want to work, they just left the organization. So we worked, and all of a sudden we became more and more popular. And the one thing I want you to make sure that you do in your life, and I just saw it on where we just visited in your hall a little while ago, is do not let your ship drift through the sea without a rudder. You have to be the captain of your ship. You have to hold a rudder. And what we did is we formed a strategic plan. And we said in 5 years, this is going to be our goals. We're going to have this organization that's going to be influencing major legislation, that's going to have something to be able to judge our senators by, that is going to be something that mentors children and put them in the right places. And we did it. We did it, much to our surprise. And one of the lessons I want to tell you in that is, for 10 years we organized and did things. I was never the president. I was a mouthpiece, the good-looking guy they put in the pictures. Y'all don't think this funny? This is a tough crowd tonight. But I was never the leader. I was a vice president for 10 years. And that's the other thing I want to tell you. You don't always have to lead. You can lead from behind. You can support the people that are doing the right thing. Because the win is for the team, not the leader. The win is for the team, not the leader. And the thing about the organization is we were so passionate that we created this thing called the legislative report card. And what we did is we would get together in a room and rate all of the legislation that was passed for the last 2 years, because our elections are every 2 years, rate them, whether they were good, they were bad, they were for economics, they were for education, how many pieces of legislation the senators put forth. And for the first time, people had a document that they could assess their politicians. And that was the first step in creating and making sure that people started looking at people's credentials and what they're doing and what they have accomplished while they're elected when making those decisions. That was a powerful movement because now the politicians started to listen to what we had to say. They had to listen to our concern about home ownership. They had to listen to our concerns about getting insurance. They had to listen about our concerns about educating our children. The other thing we did is that we realized that kids need mentors. And this is something you could do formally and informally. We put together these programs called Mat Skills, and every Saturday we would take kids out and take them to the legislature. We would take them on field trips of history. We would take them to the hospitals. We would show them how to make local dishes and give them all kinds of good information and mentorship, because it was small, but it was impactful. We had a radio show. We get on this radio every Saturday and start talking about the issues. Now y'all got Instagram and Snapchat, is that it? Facebook. You have more mediums in order to influence people. And then people started to notice us around the community, and I started getting an invite to talk about politics as a talking head on TV. And more people started to recognize not only Generation Now, but my name. And the fact that we were putting it together. And we said, you know what? We're in the Virgin Islands. Anybody know where the Virgin Islands is? It's like 1,300 miles off the coast of Miami. We need people to see what goes on in the nation's head. So we decided to take people to Washington for the Congressional Black Caucus. So we took about 30 people to Washington, and they got to meet Hillary Clinton and Reggie Jackson Jr. and all kinds of different people. And it really blew their minds to be like, I could meet that person. So the exposure was so much, because things that we take for granted, a lot of people never get to do. And then we decide we're going to have a leadership conference, and we're going to start to recognize young people that are doing things. So we created the Emerging Leaders Award, 40 young leaders who were doing things in the community. And this guy came. His name is Roland Martin. You ever heard of him? Roland came, and he spoke at our leadership conference, and he said, take it over. And he never really thought about it before, because we were waiting for people to pick us or be selected. And he says power was never ceded in the history of the world. Nobody gives power away. He said, take it over. And we started to think about taking it over. So when the governor that ran again, he ran again in 2006 and won the election, he started to put us all in different positions. I became the Commissioner of Labor, the Chairman of the Government Development Bank, the Chairman of the Economic Development Commission, the Chairman of the Economic Development Authority, a member of Port Authority. So other members started to get position, and it was kind of like a training board, because now you come off of the civic action and you're actually you're the person making the policy. And that was a big jump for us, but it worked. And we had the organization still, and we kept pushing forward. I spent 8 years doing that. Took a break for 4 years and decided to run for governor. Never been on a ballot before. Never been on a ballot before. I beat 8 other candidates with an incumbent governor with no political history. And the governor at the time was telling people he had $8 billion. And people wondered, how did you do it? It wasn't a me, it was a we. We had created an organization that had become so powerful that we would be able to hit people in different parts of the community, raise money. We had people that listened to us on a voice, a reputation for excelling all the time. And it really resonated. 8 candidates, I became governor. As a result of that, we have key people throughout the government. We have people on the bench, the judges. We have people that run the Port Authority, the president of the legislature, the people that run our disaster recovery. We're all spread out through government, and we run in it. We have taken over the government. This is my 6th year as governor. You say, so what? That's good. What's good about that? The thing that it did is it took the civic action that we started with. You remember when I was telling you, it's so hard for young people to buy houses. Right now, our next president of the United States, Kamala, is going around saying we're going to give people a $25,000 credit to buy their first home. We're giving people a $200,000 grant to buy their first home. When we were campaigning in civic action, we talked about the burden of student loans. As governor, we have the only HBCU in the country that gives free tuition to every single person that graduates from a Virgin Islands high school. You say, when you take civic action into government, in COVID, in the Caribbean, we led the Caribbean in every which way because we turned our government into one that reacts to numbers, not emotion. So you can't lead a people you don't know. You have to be among them. You have to be able to break bread with them and talk to them and listen to their problems. They said energy is a problem. Energy has been a problem for us for 50 years. By next year, we will have more daytime solar megawatts than we have the need for. So we are totally revolutionizing the way we do energy in the Caribbean. We have a solar loan program now at 1%. We're going to end up having the lowest energy in the Caribbean by the time it's done, except for Trinidad. Somebody said it was from Trinidad. They have oil, so they're beating us out a little bit. We've been able to take what we did and be able to go to Congress and get over $500 million in loans forgiven. We've been able to take the thinking and the people that we had together to fight poverty. How we fight poverty? With education. So right now, we are able to have pre-kindergarten in almost every elementary school. We've been able to be building 6 new Head Start centers now. We have a pre-Head Start that's built. K through 12, brand new schools. Our first school, I was just telling Mr. Goodgame, he said he's doing a project here for $100 million. Our first K through 8 school is $275 million. That's one school. We have a $14.3 billion recovery that we're working on with new schools, new sewer, new water, new infrastructure, new airports. It is the determination of a group of people singly focused on making the quality of life better. That was generated by a generation that taught us that to give back to your community is everything. So we have a vote. You have a vote. When Barack Obama made his inauguration speech and he said, "God bless America," it was the first time in my life that I felt like he was speaking to me. Now, where I am, everybody looks like the people in this room. It's 90% black. And some people get frustrated. You got to realize that from the beginning of time to now, all the great people that lived, even Jesus Christ himself, has had problems. There's never been a time in the world where it didn't have rich people, poor people, well people, sick people, where it didn't have problems, where it didn't have rulers, whether dictatorships or democracies, there were always problems. But there had to be some people who would get up, organize, and come together to solve those problems, to stand against apathy and say, we're going to be able to fight, we're going to be able to say something, we're going to be able to contribute and change the way things are. You know, this is, they say every election is the most important election. What's important is that you take part. It's important that you vote, but it's important that you organize. Because we as a community don't seem to be organized. And when I say the people of color, we don't seem to be organizing around missions. You know, the right of women's choice. 60% of the people that have elect to abortions are people of color. Where is our voice? Education. Don't you find it strange that on an island 1,300 miles away from Miami, we have the same dropout rates as you do in Atlanta, Chicago, Miami, New York? We have the same diabetes, the same hypertension, the same kids carrying the guns, the same murder rates, the same incarceration rates. Why? It is not an accident, ladies and gentlemen. It is policy. It is policies that have been put down that have kept us down for a long time. And the only way we can get out of that is for you, the powerful, the educated, be able to step over that and to make a new way, to talk about what's going on in our communities. Every time we see in all of these school shootings, terrible, but the majority of people getting shot in this country are people of color. You have never seen black people stand up for gun control. Never. What are the community civic actions that we're driving from what we're seeing in our community happen? Yes, home ownership is getting better, but we have to own more. The civic organization that we did has done some incredible thing, and I tell you where we have failed. Entrepreneurship. You see, economics is power. Political power is good, but commerce runs government. Government doesn't run commerce. It is the entrepreneurs of the world that change the laws in order to make what happens in Congress. But we have to make it too. We have to stop being divided by shades and know that all of us are sitting in the same boat. And then when we get upstairs, we get to where we need to go. We need to make sure that we put the ladder back down and the ladder goes further down. See, I built my house with my two hands. I don't want a Virgin Islander to have to do that. You know, I had to pay back my student loans. I don't want Virgin Islanders to do that. We suffered through energy crises for years and years and years. I don't want Virgin Islanders to do that. But it only can happen if we, you, me, all of us organize and make sure that we participate in the process and educate. I tell you, we have enacted the free tuition. Tuition actually, enrollment actually went down. How is that? As people, like, listen, y'all know about them STEMI checks, right? Y'all know, did y'all get any of the STEMI checks? No? So we have people calling us all the time. I have people calling me about stimulus checks when there's $14 billion worth of projects sitting out there. I want you to send you a message today because I used to be the only black governor in the United States. Now it's two of us, Westmore and myself. Out of 54 governors between the territories, Puerto Rico, and the states, only two. In Congress, it's not looking good either. Not in the Senate. We need to be politically active, and we need to build entrepreneurships that could give back to schools like this to produce incredible young men that you have been able to do over the years. I come to you with a message because my community is small, so I know what works. I've been alive for 56 years, and I've seen what the impetus for change can do. But it can only be done if it's supported by people. If we have people who support leaders to do the right things, to push the agenda of the Black community. So today, I thank you for listening to me and your time, but always remember there's strength in numbers, there's strength in civic action, and all politics is local. Thank you.
What a powerful message from one of our governors, one of our only 2 Black governors. Please be seated for 1 second, please. I would like to take this opportunity. This is really about civic engagement, civic involvement. You are the ones that the world has been waiting on, and you're being trained in these grounds. So it's our responsibility to bring you leaders whom you can actually embody some of the things that they're talking about and make them your own. So at this time, I'd like to ask if there's 1 or 2 hands for questions. Anybody have questions for the governor? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Donovan Dixon, sophomore computer science major with a minor in philosophy from Civic, Maryland. I personally say thank you for taking the time to come speak to us today. My question is sort of regarding your leadership philosophy over the course of your tenure, right? With the Department of Labor and now being governor, how do you think your leadership philosophy has sort of changed and shifted throughout your time?
You want me to be a politician? You want me to be honest? For real, so I really, my leadership philosophy is lead by example, not rank has its privileges. And over the time, inclusiveness has been a practice of mine. Because when you have a vision, only you can see it. And getting other people to buy into that vision, they have to put in their piece too. So a lot of times I look to be more collaborative. But in my tenure, especially now, this is my 2nd term, I'm termed out, I think I'm a little bit more aggressive in terms of pushing what I think needs to happen. Leadership is a very uncomfortable position. I didn't get an opportunity to talk to you about it, but nowadays, when I started running, and I get this a lot from my staff, they tell me, well, they take a poll, this is what they do, I'm letting you know, they take a poll and they say, what is important to whoever? This is how Trump wins all the time. And no matter how inane it is or how crazy it is, they talk about the things that people want to hear about. They talk about the things that touch you and makes you emotional and makes you toward motivation. I believe that leaders should run on their ideals and their belief and their principles, even if it's a group of people and it's not an individual principle. So right now, people say I can't get not reelected because I can't run again. I really push the envelope in terms of pushing as much change as possible because people don't like to change. COVID was the best example of how rapidly a community could change because they have to. But most of the times, as much as people want change, they want other people to change. They don't want themselves to change. So for me, my willingness to agitate, my willingness to be more pig-headed and about what I think is the right way to do has really had an incredible influence on my leadership style. And as I get older and older in leadership, I understand why people are more dictatorial, so to speak, rather than more democratic. Because ultimately, people don't want change. And unless something drastic happens, they don't change. And it's a balance that I try to maintain as much as possible. Because let me tell you, I want to tell you this, right? When Rosa Parks was on the bus, and I tell this to my people all the time, right? It wasn't Rosa Parks and them. It wasn't like 6 or 7 people sitting down with her. When she got up by herself. Ain't nobody else on the bus was trying to get up and say anything else, right? So when you come, it's no concept, no thing that has ever been created in the world that is incredible that people didn't think the person was crazy. Because people were in the back of the bus saying, she crazy. She's sitting up in the front of the bus. That woman crazy. You have to be able to push the envelope because you always have to be able to move to spaces that are unfamiliar and uncomfortable. And let me tell you something, I used to get frustrated. The message is for everyone, but the mission is only for a few. And what do I mean by that? When you talk to people, I'll talk to all of you in this room, and I give you my vision. Let's say I tell you, listen, up in Decatur, underneath whatever up there is $10 million. If y'all believe it, if that's my vision, if y'all believe it, every one of you will get up and drive to Decatur to try to get that $10 million. But more than likely, only one or two of you will believe it and go up there and see what it is. And that's when you tell your vision to people. So those are called the pioneers. And a lot of times when your speech, what you have to say is cutting edge, you have to realize that the message is for everybody, but the mission is for the pioneers. Because people think that when, Martin Luther King, no matter what great leader we had, like there was a whole bunch of people that were really excited to go get hosed down and bitten by dogs. That's not how it was. It started small, and you have to start small too. But you have to have the conviction to believe in what you believe in and drive that forward. And that takes a lot of strength, because everybody's going to tell you you're crazy. Even the people that are closest to you be like, nah, man, nah, dog, I ain't doing that. Thank you.
Next question, yes, sir.
My name is Manuel Rodriguez. I'm a junior economics major in legal science minor from Kansas, Louisiana. I actually have two questions for you. So I know you talked a lot about young people.
Speak up so others can hear you.
I know you talked about a lot about young people, and specifically young people getting out and being the ones to push the envelope and do civil engagement. I did have a question for you in regards to that. How do we, young people, overcome the fundamental problems that exist within the current political landscape as far as division culturally, socially, even say politically as far as policy goes? And the second one, how would you go about uniting different groups of people within a local/small community?
Right.
We could take Atlanta, for example. How would you get Fulton County to unite with Buckhead to create a unified movement, like you were saying before? The movement being the one that moves or changes things rather than one person representing everybody and then trying to make some movement out of that.
So you have that good question. So you have two choices, right? You could join a movement like I talked about, but if that is not for you, you create your own movement. And I think you guys, as young people, have incredible power through social medias. I'm just blown away by the amount of idiots on social media getting attention, just sputtering pure nonsense. Imagine if you have something real to offer people. The other thing is you're lucky now to be in a genre, Morehouse, where there are a lot of people of like minds, a lot of people who think progressively. There are a lot of people here who are smart. They have overcome a lot of obstacles to get this far in their life. Start pairing up with those people and making your voice echo. Before, you had to spend millions of dollars in TV ads. Now on social media, you can get your message out there really quickly. And I think there are, like I said, basic things that people are suffering from that they just don't know how to get over. Things that seem obvious to me. Sometimes I look at the social programs and I say, why aren't people taking advantage of this? Why aren't people taking advantage of going to school? But you got to get out there and you got to start pairing up. And I'm telling you, it's the law of attraction. Once you start creating an agenda that is clear and loud, and especially for young people and for a young black man, because that's not what you see. Like, you don't see it. When you look at the landscape of who are the young black men that are standing up and really leading for anything, you don't really see that. We're depicted as a problem, as criminals. I mean, look at me, I got gray hair. People still lock their doors when they see me. I mean, I think it's ridiculous. They go to the back of the elevator. You have the ability to harness that. The other thing that I think that is huge advantage for you is the unemployment rate in the U.S. right now is 4%. It's going to get worse because incredible amounts of boomers, that's the generation before me, have retired. There are huge gaps in the landscape in terms of who is going to take over. My generation is looking to retire. Yeah, young, but they're still looking to retire. And they're saying, where is the leadership? I mean, think about it. The two people who were running for president were 80 years old, right? I mean, that's a gap that shows not only on the color side, but that's over on the other side too. So when you look everywhere I look, like my good friend told me, everybody's working 2 positions ahead of where they should be, where they have the skill to be. So the landscape really is up to you now to define it. And as far as, you know, I hate to use it like this, but the Democrats and the Republicans have become like the Crips and the Bloods, right? I mean, it don't matter what you say, if you got on red or you got on blue. I'm not listening to you. That's what it is. So we have stalemated our country into something that can't move. Why not create something else? There's obviously room there for something else. Maybe it's the make sense political party, you know? Because there are a lot of good ideas out there, but they're not going any which way. And we have to be able to do that. You know, one of the favorite presidents is Bill Clinton. He came across the aisle and made some concessions in order to bring America back together again. Last thing on that. The country is not as divided as you think it is, you know? As somebody who makes the news, I don't believe anything I read in the news. The only thing I believe is that Trump is crazy, because I met him myself and he's crazy. But there's a lot of, the news has become something that shapes our minds and our social arena to do what people want us to do, to think. It's a constant message of fear and inadequacy that will make you. You watch TV, TikTok, whatever it is, it's always telling you you don't have enough and that there are a lot of terrible things going on. And it doesn't highlight the good things. So you have to be the echo of the good. You have to be the echo of the opportunity. I mean, you live in the richest country in the world. Like when I come here to the mainland, I'm blown away about how rich it is. You know, I read this book and it said they got a guy from India and they asked him, they said, what's the most amazing thing about America? You know what he said? Fat, poor people. Think about it. In this country, the poor people are fatter than the rich people. Think about it. Homeless people sit on the sidewalks begging for food with cell phones. This country, like 70% of the people that die in the world, 70% of the people that die in the world die because they don't have access to clean water. In this country, we go to the bathroom in drinking water. You could literally drink the water out of the toilet. That's how rich we are. We're so rich that the time that we're allotted, you think about it, if you live in a poor country, in the morning when you get up, there's no refrigerator, there's no running water, you gotta get up, there's no supermarket, you gotta go and hunt something down, fish something out, pull something up, you gotta go get water from the river or the well, you gotta bring it back, you gotta pour it in, you gotta boil it, you gotta get it prepared, you gotta get that cooked up, your kids get up, you wake up, they get it. It's like you 2-3 hours before they even wake up to get them ready to go to school. We wake up, Pop-Tart in 2 minutes in the microwave, and pop, we out the door. Isn't it even fathomable to us that people live in houses without refrigerators? That there are communities that don't have grocery stores? That don't even make sense to us. When I come to the mainland and I see the amount of food that we throw in the garbage when I go to a restaurant, I'm just amazed. It blows my mind. The amount of accumulation of cars. A car is a $60,000 commodity. After 5 years, we just throw it out and get another one. So there are a lot of gaps, and I think the appreciation of what you have in this country, free education, K through 12, the ability for you to go to college school, borrow, do whatever you want in order to get through school and get a degree, you know. We pay more in health insurance than most people make in the Caribbean in an entire year in health insurance. So I know I get excited. There is opportunity for us to make sure that you don't have to spend 3 hours in the morning getting ready. We so rich you could spend 8 hours on your weekend watching Netflix and catching up on the latest episodes of whatever you watch. Imagine if you had the ability to just spend 1 hour every day studying something on YouTube or on the internet that makes you more skilled, that makes you a better person, that makes you more marketable, that makes you a better entrepreneur. We could afford it, but we don't do it. Other questions? He's back again.
How you doing? My name's Bryant Kemet. I'm a dual degree civil engineering major, CM from Prince George's County, Maryland.
Nice.
Real estate development. So my question is, I saw that you're currently like investing into your infrastructure and you're building like 2 major airports. So my question is this: how would you guys have any like internships available or things like that? Because I'm a civil engineer and I'm working in commercial real estate in New York City last summer. So I'm actually looking for something like right now.
Yeah, we the one thing though, if you come, we're gonna keep you. We're not gonna let you go back.
My girlfriend's from Antigua, so
Is she?
she's trying to go back to the islands anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like we could talk. So I'm glad he said that. We also created. I thought that we have the like. If you're from a small town, you know, anybody comes to a small town, you know, you go to college and you never come back. You know, you go back there 10 years later, it's the same people hanging in the same places. So we had to create a mechanism to make people stay. So what we did is we created this thing called the Financial Fellows. So every year we try to select 20 college students, and we pay them $55,000 a year to start. They spend 6 months in OMB, Office of Management and Budget, 6 months in finance, 6 months at the IRB, and 6 months at the Office of Disaster Recovery. So those fellows are going to open up again, probably around May, June. You could apply to be one of them. Only local people apply. I mean, those are usually what we want to do, but it's not restricted to local people. So it's a great internship. It's 2 years, and then you can spin out and find. But you work directly with a commissioner, so a head of a department on those, and you do different things. So it's a great experience. Even if you don't stay in the government, we figured that you're out there doing stuff for us as well, too, in the community.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Lambert. I am a sophomore studying philosophy and politics here at Morehouse College from Atlanta, Georgia. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for engaging in dialogue with us today. I truly learned a lot, really informative. I guess my question was in relation to something you mentioned earlier in your just speaking about this sort of notion about harnessing the power of young people, harnessing the power of utilizing the resources that we have in proximity to us. And I know one of those resources kind of been in contemporary politics being the use of technology in this sort of instant information age.
Right.
And I wanted to ask kind of, I think too, kind of subsequently, because of this sort of technology, we get this sort of pervasiveness of misinformation and
Yeah.
disinformation in our communities. And one thing I realized when trying to organize in the West End community with the Morehouse College Democrats, I know I've seen a couple of them in here, we realized that people have become disengaged and disdain with not only government, but with voting, more apathetic about voting.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, what are some of the ways that when young people are trying to organize and trying to build coalition and build unity, like my brother kind of said previously, you know, how can we nurture our communities back into this idea that government does care, government does matter, right? Their vote does matter. I think that's the biggest piece in civic engagement, kind of speaking to the theme of the entire discussion, right? How can we nurture our communities, you know, rebuild faith, rebuild hope? I think that's one of the most important pieces in just democracy in general.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think, and thank you for that question. You know, how do you get people from being apathetic? And I don't want to give you any impression that I'm a genie. We have the same problem at home, getting people involved. I think what it is wins, right? You need to win for what people care about. We have a lot of things that we do, like, you know, the Medicaid cap and our ability to be able to get our Medicaid match down to 17% it doesn't get anybody excited. So what we did is we created this list called the People's Plan. And what we did is we picked out things in our community that people wanted. The horse race track. They wanted to get their tax checks back. They wanted to get, we had a reduction in force where we took 8% of their salary away for 2 years, like way back in the day, and they wanted that back. They wanted a drag strip. So what we did is we made sure we prioritize the things that what the people want. instead, because the average person doesn't care that you balance the budget if they're not getting, if their cost of living is high. They wanted home ownership, so we created that home ownership property. They wanted to get the ability to put solar in the home, so we created a solar loan program for 1%. They wanted rebates on their power, so we created a program to help people get their power paid down, rent assistance, mortgage assistance. And I think doing that, you build the kind of support in the community. I hate to say, but politics has become kind of like a cult of personality too. So you're gonna have to get, and it's very difficult, especially nowadays, but people of color readily identify with the Democratic Party. What is the Democratic Party doing for people of color? A lot, but it is not given out that, it's not seen that way. When you talk about the last 4 years, President Biden forgave the student loans for a lot of young people, got the benefit of that. But we're not reaching out to those young people and saying, remember you got this benefit? This is because of the Democratic Party. A lot of the social programs over the last 4 years, whether in healthcare, the expansion of EBT, or food stamps as we call it. During COVID, the President of the United States made sure that everybody got the maximum amount of food stamps so that people wouldn't go hungry. The payroll protection, where President Biden was the one that allowed people to pay their employees from taking a loan from the federal government and then getting it forgiven. That was him. He did that, the Democratic Party. So when people get benefits, they're not readily associating where those benefits are coming from. A lot of people got tax rebates in the states because of the amount of money that each governor got like $2 billion. That money didn't just come because there was tax rebates. It came because President Biden passed a law that allowed them to take money from the federal government and substitute into the state budget, which created surpluses that allowed them to give the money back. But we're not connecting that. Healthcare is huge. It's huge. And you never know till you get sick. I tell you, if you ever get sick and you see what the bill is, then you really understand. And we, as people of color, are not healthy. We are sick. I pay attention to culture. Look in your community when you say, you didn't see that, I don't want to out anybody, but I think it's called Vita or something. And I kept seeing these Vitas all over. Everywhere I go in the mall, it was like Vita or something like that it's called. You know what it is? They're dialysis centers. In black community, that should bother you. I mean, so they're feeding us food to make us sick, to put us on dialysis, And in the education, it's like, I looked up this thing and it said, poverty in America today is more of a mindset. And I don't mean to diminish poverty in any way. This is what it said, because I was trying to figure out what's middle class in America. And they said it's more of a mindset, that middle class people save money, invest, believe in education, and I guess poverty class people don't. Educating our people about money and finance is so important. I realize, a simple message like student loan, there's a pervasive message that goes around like, I don't want to be in college debt. I don't want to be in college debt. And I started to talk to young people about, are you going to college? They said, no. I said, why? He said, I don't want to be in college debt. I said, what do you think is college debt? $20,000. I said, $20,000? That's less than your first car that you're going to buy. And you have something for your education. But if your mother or your father never made more than $15,000 in a year, $20,000 is a monumental amount of money to you. So those are the kind of things that we need to do. We need to educate people. The people that are going to the universities, we need to take time out to make sure that we're letting people know that there still is a path out. The other thing is like the cows for Chick-fil-A. You never seen them? The cows, they say, eat more chicken. We have a resounding echo in our community that we tell one another, ain't nothing, ain't nobody out there for you, ain't nobody care about you. That thing, when a child listens to that, nobody, when I was young, everybody expected me to be somebody, just like I expect every one of you to be somebody. If you never heard it in your life, you're hearing it tonight. I'm sure you heard it because you heard more. I expect you to be somebody. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of young men and women. People tell them they're never going to get anything in life and they're never going anywhere. So I think we have to, and that's why I talk about the civic part, right? Because if we could start to meet people where they are, we could lead them to electing a president, a mayor, a governor, or whatever.
Hey, good evening. My name is Amari Williams. I'm a sophomore biology major on the pre-medical track from Queens, New York. And firstly, I want to say thank you for speaking with us today. And the question that I have for you is, as someone that wants to be a doctor and that has family in the Caribbean, I know and understand that there is a disproportional access to healthcare.
Right.
And I want to know what you're doing in the Virgin Islands to improve access to healthcare.
So under my administration, we open up, I'm the big technology governor. We open up the Office of Health Information Technology. I'm not gonna out her if she's in here, but my daughter, growing up, she's juvenile diabetic, and I would fly to the States in order for her to get care, go to Howard University, and they would never touch her. They would just look at her, and then they would read her vitals, and then she would go back. I mean, we get the care, but I kept thinking, what do people who don't have money do? What do they do? So now we have these, we already started in MCA's maternity child health, where we can have telehealth, where people can access doctors in the States and don't have to fly. Because you imagine how expensive it is for somebody from the Caribbean. Unfortunately, your mother gets sick, you get cancer or something, you gotta go up and fly, and somebody's gotta stay with her. You can't just leave her in a hospital. So those kind of things. We've also put a lot of money into organizations in the States of Caribbean people that help people when they come up here, find places to stay, helps them locate if they're sick, and cancer supports groups in the Virgin Islands as well. We're building 2 new hospitals. Each of those hospitals about $600 million. Another 2 or 3 health centers, 2 skilled nursing centers. So we need people to work. If you want to work in the Caribbean, call me up. So I mean, it is difficult. It's only 100,000 people, and it's only 50,000 people thereabouts on each island. So we could actually have an island meeting in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Everybody on one island would fit in there comfortably. That's how small it is. But it's incredibly expensive to live there, and we're doing our best to. Good COVID, bad COVID. COVID propelled us into the technological age because people didn't have any choice. It created a lot of other problems too, because Amazon and all these other companies are just sucking all of the money out of our small areas and small business people. But I was a little nervous coming here. But I'm so excited to speak to you. I'm so impressed by how astute you are, about your campus, and about the leadership qualities you exhibit, even when you speak and stand in here today. So thank you for having me, and much love. That's a good game. Very good game. Thank you.
Let's stand and give another round of applause to our speaker, the governor of the Virgin Islands. So we will have an opportunity I want to make sure he has a chance to take a picture with some of you, with most of you. Just have a seat 1 second. Just a show of hands. How many of you all feel today that you are now civically engaged or involved in something going on in the community? Just show of hands. Okay? It's not everyone. That means that's our job to bring that, more to your attention. How many of you have gotten involved in the political process and at least registered and have now already voted? Just show of hands. Yeah. It's vitally important that you do, because he and I represent a generation whose time is coming toward an end as far as our prime time. And it's now time for you to take center stage, right? The only way for that to happen is for you to learn more about not what they tell you you should know. Go the extra mile, learn it for yourselves, and then understand how to vote in your own best self-interest, right? I came up in a time where my class was the first year that they actually started computer science as a major, if you can imagine that. It was 40 years ago. I was so unsure that computer science was going to make it as a profession that I double majored in econ because I wasn't sure if computer science was going to make it. Now we've got the information age, computers. Now you've got the misinformation age. And somehow you've got to figure out what is information, what is misinformation, and what is disinformation. So it's really important that you bring your faculties to every conversation researched, not just your opinion, and talking about what you heard. Do the work to find out and add that to the conversation. Because I represent you and you represent me. I want the best representation of me out there. You are it, right? So make sure that what you have is well researched. Bounce those ideas off of each other. When Mr. Booker and I were in school, the late night bull sessions in dorms is where we could have solved all the problems in the world, right there in these residence halls. Because brothers would say, man, that's not true. Prove it. We would make brothers go and find it, research it. No, because I just heard this. Don't just use one resource. So there are a lot of things that we're going to be presenting to you, like today's presentation. It's not about did you vote for my candidate? That's not the important thing. The thing is, do you understand the importance of making sure that you are actively involved in doing what's in your own best interest and the people you represent? Not just yourselves, but the people that you're going to represent. You represent the best of the best of the best this country produces. We're going to tell you that each and every day. It's your job to prove us wrong that you're not the best, because we're going to tell you that every day. The only way you can prove that to us is do what it takes. We're going to present governors and presidents, and it's not about what they represent. It is about the fact that we can't produce men with disciplined minds who lead lives of leadership and service if we don't bring the examples to your attention that you can touch every day, that you can talk to in every way. This is not a concept, a foreign concept. Homecoming is not necessarily about the party. It's about those people who come to a place that they love, that help to make them, give them a foundation they will always respect. We want the same for you. So I just want to make sure that you know how much we love you, we respect you, and we expect for you to do what's in your own self-interest. Learn, become exposed, come into the environments like this here. This is the classroom beyond the classroom, right? When I came up, Dr. Whalum said, hey, your bedroom, your dormitory is an extension of the library, which means when you leave the library and it's closed, you should come back and study. You continue to study, because the world was not built to say, hey, we know he's going to be a success. We had to build a place to say, hey, this is a place where you know you can come and it's in your best interest. I want to see you be successful. Because when you're successful, I'm a success. Once again, let's give it up for our governor, the governor of Virgin Islands, and thank you for your time. You got a question? Yep.
Just some final remarks. Thank you for attending today. Attendance will be recorded in the back. Thank you to our 82 online Crown Forum students, as well as anyone who participated in the live stream. Because of the great attendance, if the brothers in the back could come to the front before we depart and before we allow y'all to do attendance, we will sing the college hymn for our guests. So brothers in the back, please come. Other brothers, please stand up, link together.
No problem. You got to stand up? Yes, sir. Yep. One of the announcement. If brothers at the front would make sure that the governor knows how to do this accordingly.
Right. And before we sing the hymn, gentlemen, real quick, please read your email. Classes are canceled tomorrow in lieu of our losses. We will have an 11 a.m. service where we'll have an opportunity to grieve together as brothers and community. So please make sure that you are there at 11 a.m. To participate in that activity. Thank you so much.
Amen.
All right.
Thank
Close
you.
this out.
I didn't get a chance to thank my staff, Clara Wesley, I think she's right here to the left, and Kim Brown. I want to thank them for everything they did to make this a smooth transition for our governor today. Dear old Morehouse, dear old Morehouse, we have pledged our lives to thee, and will ever, yea, forever, give ourselves in loyalty. True forever, to old Morehouse may we be, so to bind each son the other into ties more brotherly. Holy Spirit, make us steadfast, honest, true, to old Morehouse and her ideals, and in all things that we do. Thank you.